Hi everyone, and very happy to be here. I hope English is not a problem for you because my Czech doesn't exist, basically. So I was asked here by my colleague Thomas and Thomas Ploharek here to talk about control point. Rather than talk about a product, as it were, I think it's best to associate it with what my poor understanding of what Joseph just said. Mainly talk about what it all means and what kind of solution it is and what kind of business problems it comes and solves for you. Before I do that, though, I'm just going to, we're HP. I think you know us more for, laptops and servers and stuff. It's a bigger company than that. There are three sort of pillars to what we're trying to do. Cloud, security, information. We try to provide through our ecosystem the hardware, which you probably know more of, the software, but also and the services via our partner ecosystem, so that our customers can actually solve their business problems. And this is what we're trying to do, and part of me being here is part of this initiative. So I work on the information side of things, just so you know. So typically, when you look at the information in your enterprise, to just dive in and hop back onto what Joseph was saying, you have all this information and you don't necessarily know what it is. And he was talking about using search technology to go in and see what you have and generally look into it. If you do a general analysis of what most corporations have in terms of what they have and the value, 1% of the stuff that you generate, of the data that you generate, be it structured or unstructured, is going to have legal value in the sense that you're going to use it one day to go and see a judge to either sue somebody or get off some sort of thing the regulator thinks you did wrong. So secondly, you're going to have about 5% of your data that is a true business record. We're talking about invoices, stuff that need to be kept for regulatory reasons because you have to, because it's the law, but even though they're not necessarily going to be used in a litigation context. After that, you've got the stuff that's actually useful that you need to keep for long term. It's beyond just your just the stuff that you're obliged to keep, but that are useful from a business perspective. Typically, this sales presentation might be useful again in another context with another customer. It's useful, so it's going to enter. I keep a record of it, and it's going to stay in this useful data context. That's about 25% of your data. The rest is redundant. I have the sales presentation in about 20 different copies because I go to see quite a few customers, but also far more obsolete, trivial stuff, old sales presentations with capabilities that either have been discontinued or that we no longer support, or old stuff that we don't need anymore and that we don't need to keep for historical reasons. And just out of interest, quick question: who here works in pure IT operations? Nobody? No? You're all okay. These guys.
Možná v češtině, jestli jste pochopili všichni otázku, kdo tady pracuje IT? Nikdo nepracuje v IT?
Okay. Because just feel sorry for them for a second, because you have all this data, they have to manage, and they have to manage the upkeep of all this data, and basically 69% of it, we're telling them that, look, it's pointless. You're just keeping it for keeping its sake, and they have a budget, they have a P&L to run, and it's costing them a lot of money. Most of what they pay for in terms of infrastructure, in terms of storage, is actually useless to you guys, the business execs who actually use this information. So it's a bit hard on them when they see this kind of thing. If we think about it as this, rather than use it as concentric circles, we can see this again. And if we think of our organization of where we need to keep our data, rather than keeping it as one big blob and and managing everything the same way, we should think about perhaps where do we keep our business records? The topic of archiving records management was addressed this morning, I believe. I'll take your word for it. Then there's this notion of content and process, stuff that we're creating, that the business is creating to generate value for the company. And then there's this transitory content and junk data, old stuff, useless stuff that we don't use anymore. The idea is to be able to have a system that can separate these your data so that we can actually put it in the right place and treat it the right way from an IT perspective in order to have a more efficient IT, but also business tools for end users. To hop onto sort of ongoing thing in the IT industry, you've got a lot of data. You don't know what's inside. The idea is to condense it and get rid of what you don't need and keep what's really smart, useful for you in your business context. This is a very, very IT-orientated slide. I wasn't sure, but typically when they the idea for them when you're in IT operations is when you address a particular problem, there's always a ready-made solution. I don't have enough storage. I'm just going to buy some more disk. There's many of these. There are many implications in IT operations, but all in all, if you just address a point problem every time, right, all you are getting is point solutions every time, and you end up with having one big Frankenstein, as it were. The idea is, from whether you're in IT or from the business standpoint, is to think about the whole thing holistically. What is the information that I need to have in my company for my business to work? What is useful? What do I need to keep? What is the life cycle that I put onto information that I have in my company? Because as it stands, there's an interesting statistic. Today, the budget that IT is allocating to extra storage and extra infrastructure to manage just the operations of what they are doing is growing faster than the actual IT budget, which in some cases is actually diminishing. There's going to come a time where they just won't have enough money to help you do your work, and you know that's going to be a big problem. The idea is that both the business and IT come together to build a framework of what is necessary, what we need to have in terms of information, and how do we manage it. The idea is, in time, to manage for cost, but also meet the regulatory requirements that are necessary for each individual step of the business processes that the company is engaged in, as it were. So this is a cool business model thing from the marketing team. The thing is, think about it this way. Today, the information that you have in your company, you guys, since you're pretty much all from the business end, I gather, you carry the benefits. You use it. However, you don't carry the burden of using it. The cost and the complexity of managing this data from a money point of view, most of it falls to IT. And that's the idea is to find a tool that will help you and help them come together to optimize and find the right balance. And perhaps with these same tools, use up your environment, use these same tools to go into your environment, to clean it up, as it were, so that you get the best. You also get the best value from what they have, and they get and they obviously spend less money on bringing you better value stuff. So this is the whole idea behind Control Point, which quite simply is built off HP Idle, formerly Autonomy Idle, which is one of the search engines that Joseph was talking about earlier. And the idea is very simple: is to use this technology that was described in the presentation beforehand, to basically go in, index orphaned environments or just active environments that you have, find out what's inside, and then help you classify it based on the business needs, the business context that you have, so that you can see yourself as the business. Okay, this has value. I want to keep it. I want to keep it for so many years. I want to put it into my records management solution. I want to put it in my document management solution, based on the use that you see for a specific category of documents, right? You can then classify your data accordingly. The way it works is very much the way Joseph described earlier on. You're going to have a set of connectors. They're going to come in and read data wherever it is, be it your email systems, your file shares, your SharePoints, whatever it is, in whatever format, and whether it be just files, PDFs, or we can even index social media data. We can do audio conversations, video with speech-to-text technology. It's pretty cool. And then the idea is to obviously do this classification and sort what has value, what does not have value, and apply the appropriate lifecycle policies to these different sets of data. To do this, and when you build a solution that's going to do this kind of thing, you've got to go into a business methodology, as it were. And the way we've gone around it is basically to think, what would we do if we were you and you knew about our technology? We'd go in, identify a specific environment, index it, see what's inside, and then run some quick analysis on it, maybe more in-depth analysis if you want, and this is something that you can work on with the software, to see very quickly, is something redundant? Do we have the same document 5 times in 5 different places in my IT environment? Do we have near duplicates? You sometimes have the exact same document, exact same title, with the exact same content. But sometimes, like on my computer, I have the same presentation 7 or 8 times, but it's a little different. The data is different, the customer name is different, the slides aren't necessarily in the same order, but the general context, which is what Joseph was talking about earlier, is the same. The general content is the same, and you can actually play around in the software with the levels of confidence of the engine to identify near duplicates, to say, okay, these are pretty much all talking about the same thing. Which one of these do I keep? I choose my master copy. The other ones, I can keep them in a not so secure place, or maybe I can get rid of them faster than the master copy I decide to keep for longer, declare as a record. I can reorganize my data. Stuff coming from, I have 5 file shares from different teams. They sort of have the same kind of data. I want to merge these teams as part of a reorganization, or I'm moving them to a new computer system where they're a new document management system, right? I need to put them in a single file plan, data coming from multiple sources. I can reclassify all the existing data based with classification rules based on the content of the data that I have. Then, obviously, the idea is to get some ROI out of this kind of solution, and get rid of this useless data that we know is there, but we can't. That would take a lot of time to find and sort manually, and get rid of it, reduce it, to reduce operating costs in IT, but also reduce. It would also affect productivity for business end users. If there is a lot less junk to search through when you're looking for the right document, you're going to find it a lot faster. Finally, and the final step would be, this is particularly interesting in the case of, if you are merging teams, if you are implementing a records management system, an archiving system in your company, you can use this tool to migrate data. I have stuff in my SharePoint, I have stuff in my file shares. I can take the data, reclassify, reorganize it the way I want it, the way I need it, the way for their business activities, and then I can send it to the place I need it to be as part of the new system. And typically in archiving and records management projects, one of the key stages is being able to pick up all of this legacy data and put it in the new system. Being able to do that, it really helps drive user acceptance, which is very often the key to the success of records management and document management projects. So this is a tool that can that has many uses. It's in its current form and the current use cases that we're exploring today with HP. It's rather new, and we still haven't. We don't think we've seen all the use cases that are possible to sort of play with it, as it were, and the limits fundamentally in terms of the technology are those of semantic search engines that Joseph was talking about earlier. So I'd planned to show a demo, but off this computer it's going to be difficult. Just to give you a quick idea, because obviously business relevance is always interesting. I have a case study. It's the international branch of a major cigarette company that's based in Switzerland. I can't get more specific than that, unfortunately. Their goal originally was to reduce their information footprint. As you would expect in the cigarettes is an industry where they have a lot of litigation, so they're sued a lot, and one of the key drivers originally was say, hey, if we can get rid of all the rubbish, we don't have to pay PwC so much money to look through our documents, see what's relevant in a case, and it was the initial driver. But obviously, as PwC would have told this customer, getting rid of data that is potentially critical in a lawsuit is something that's very dangerous, and they're very well aware of that. And this customer was incredibly antsy and very, very much afraid of deleting anything. So they said it could be a good idea, but they didn't expect the results that they got. The results that they got were, they realized that they, even just going into it without any sort of in-depth classification of getting rid of redundant, obsolete, and trivial data, just without going into details of their own business processes, they could delete about 30% of what they have without serious work and serious implications from business people into the data they were storing. You'd be surprised of what happens when you leave sort of free IT infrastructure to end users. You'll find backups of personal iPhones. You will find movies of all kinds that have completely no reason to be where they are. You will find not necessarily standard business of conduct images and videos. You will find many backup of iTunes libraries, a lot of things that the company is paying to keep, but have absolutely no value to the company. So with this information in mind, they got rid of a lot of data, and they barely finished the POC that we were running with them, and they'd basically already paid for the software. And if you look at the data, they have a total of about 8 petabytes of unstructured data that they wanted to, use this software on, which is huge. And over the first 5 years, they wanted to concentrate on a 30 terabyte sample, which is already quite sizable. From these 30 terabytes, of which they were running this POC, they've projected some earnings on the 250 terabytes that they were going to work on in the first 3 years of the project. Quite simply, from a legal perspective, just the amount of data that they've taken out is basically going to save them about 10.6 million in terms of lawyers' fees and also internal in-house counsel time spent just for reviewing documents that have been reviewed again and again and again, but are pointless to actually look at. And then in terms of IT savings, just by getting rid of so much data, they've freed up a huge amount of IT infrastructure, and they've managed to completely stem their growth, their organic growth of data inside the company. And if you factor these in together, they come up to huge IT savings of about $50 million, which is crazy, but good for them. What's factored in is not just when your data grows. I mean, one of the big challenges is when your data grows, you have to obviously pay storage for it. When it usually grows in an application for which you need to buy extra licensing, it also and for this application you need extra computer power. So you're just piling up the bills as you go. And then in its operations, generally you don't have it running once. For security purposes, you have it running twice or 3 times, and then you have it backed up in case there's a problem. And if you keep adding all these costs together, the savings are absolutely huge. And I mean, this project shows up on this company's annual P&L. This is how this is how significant it is. So they are very, very, very happy customers. The way this customer sort of built onto this was to use it not just as a simple, clean up my data. They said, oh, this is so big and this is helping us save so much money. Why don't we not just use it once in a while when we feel we have a problem, but why don't we use it to implement this information governance policy I was talking about a little earlier? Let's make one, and let's use this solution to help keep our information environment lean, as it were, and stop it becoming fat and obese and cumbersome and impossible to use. And what we found in time with the different customers that we have for this solution is that this implementation of information governance with Control Point can be done in multiple ways. We can start obviously as described with this cigarette customer beforehand as a point solution. So we use it as one-off. We solve our problem that we feel that we have now, and once it's solved, we walk away, as it were. Obviously, if we use just the pure analytics on the front end, which are similar to what Joseph was describing before, it can also be just used as a tool to see what we have and reclassify what we have. So these are we can use these separately, or we can use this together. On top of that, built into the solution, we have schedulers, so you can actually have both the analysis, the movement of data, the purge of useless data running concurrently, fitting the strategy that you want for your company. The idea is that you can, with the solution, you can have an end-to-end approach. So, looking from the data on the business end, but also from the IT cost perspective, having it very, 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 very efficient. One of the things I'd like to finish on is that generally when you have archiving and records management projects, I don't know if many of you have run some of these maybe, or have had some implemented in the companies that you work for. One of the big questions that is always asked when the finance people come knocking on the door is, what is the ROI? Okay, we need a business process, but what is the ROI? And obviously, when you talk about digitalizing the enterprise in forms like Yuri this morning, It's you can see the cost. It's quite easy, and you know how you're paying for the solution in time. In records management, a lot of people will see it as, okay, we're just adding a process here. It's going to annoy the users, and on top of this, IT comes in and says, oh, you want me to install more machines, more storage, a new application to manage. And it seems like it's a burden to everybody, when in fact, if you look at it holistically in terms of an organization, and you guys have been listening about this all day, it makes a lot of sense, right, in time. The idea is with a solution like this, there's lots of crap existing inside the IT. And using this solution to sort of pay for your archiving or records management project, if you just look at the individual ROI of the solution here in the middle, it's 4 figures. It's huge. This solution was paid for in months, 5 months. And when I say solution, I mean the software, the hardware, and the services that go on top, right? Using this solution to help push acceptance for a solution, drive the innovation in the company, is something that's particularly useful, and we've seen this with customers across EMEA, both in the UK, France, in Scandinavian countries as well. So this is an innovative solution. We've not seen people suggest this as a ready-made packaged solution ready for market. But we feel that this is something that's very interesting from a business perspective. It makes a lot of sense for our customers, and it helps innovation go forwards. So if you have any questions, I'm here. Feel free.